So you want to be a dungeon master?
That's great. We're here to help. I'm Taylor.
And I'm Justin. This week, we're talking all about the Wizard Subclasses NOT in the 2014 Player's Handbook. We only have 5 subclasses to go over this time, but these magic nerds get all kinds of powerful feats with these new subclasses. And some of these have been known to truly buff the wizard to dizzying heights. So, whatever weird and wacky wizard warriors you want to wield, we welcome it. But let's not waste any time and get into this. But first... It's gonna be about first. You know, magic in D&D is split into a bunch of schools of magic. Aberration, divination, conjuration, so on and so forth. But what if we had to invent a new school of magic? This is a really challenging and creative task because I like it because you're going to have to bend some rules because, frankly, with what they got, especially with 2 of the subclasses that we're going to talk about today, it's kind of like they've added the missing ones, and it feels like most things that you would do with magic would fit into something that already exists.
Right. It's tough. Like, I can come up with maybe some different subclasses, like wizard subclasses that aren't covered or something like that. Or, I can come up with a spell or 2, but I don't know if I could come up with an entire school. That's a lot. Because, like you said, it's all covered for the most part.
It feels covered.
I don't know.
Anytime I even get close to one where I'm like, oh, maybe that'll do it. And then I think of, okay, what spells would that be? And then I'm like, well, that spell could also just be conjuration. Like, it doesn't need to be this.
Right.
So then you're kind of just like, okay. It's very interesting. I like the challenge of it. And I think that, like, you kind of have to go real outside the box and just kind of like... The kind of idea that, like, if you invent this school of magic and you make it a part of, like, a homebrew world or something, like, it could change how magic works in your world. So, like, an example I have for, schools of magic, they're not really, but is nature and divine. And I added those in there for the sake of, like, I've just seen so much, especially in D&D spaces when it comes to world building and stuff, that there is, like, a difference. Some worlds and world building will separate magic into, like, almost like 3 categories. There's, like, nature magic, druids and shit. There's divine magic, clerics, paladins, and then there's, like, arcane magic. And that's where you get, wizards. And so I was thinking you could have, like, a specific school of nature magic and delve deeper into that, but that wouldn't necessarily make it so that all those spells can't overlap with other spells, like schools also. And I don't think that that's necessarily an issue, because eventually we're going to go over chronergy and graviturgy. And if you look in spell lists, there's, like, little signifiers to differentiate them from other spells to let you know that, like, this is a graviturgy spell. Right.
But
it still belongs to a different school.
Yeah, and that's kind of all you can really do at this point, because the main things that you would do with magic already exist in that space of, like, depending on what type of spell you're casting, it's generally covered under, not even generally, it's always covered under some form of evocation or transmutation or whatever, what have you. So, but I think it would be, doing it that way in kind of adding additional tags to spells would make a new school make more sense and a little bit easier.
Yeah, balancing wise and just for, like, ease of note keeping and just kind of, like, without, like, reinventing the wheel, it does make it much easier to do it that way.
Right.
The only other thing I can think of, and this is still, like, one of those situations where it's not that the spells in there couldn't also be applied to other schools, but, like, if in a modern campaign, if you did, like, a technomancy kind of thing, that's an idea that comes to mind.
Right.
And having, like, that tech wizard build, but also because it's a whole school, you're also providing the opportunity for like a cleric to real quick like pick up a hacking spell or some shit like that, like so it kind of opens it up.
Yeah.
That's one idea. The only other things I wrote down were like I wrote down the forbidden. And I was I couldn't not think of forbidden jutsus from Naruto.
Okay.
And like counting that as its own school of magic, so to speak. And it's not like a school in the most traditional sense that D&D uses them, but like it's like a category, an umbrella term of spells that are forbidden for X reasons and just like the jutsus.
Right.
I don't know.
Right. So they're just those would almost be spells that come at a cost to the caster, which I do like. I like that because that is a space that has not really been touched on in
for sure.
D&D in general, because who's going to do that? I would. Honestly, I would.
Oh yeah.
You'd
that would be a really fun challenge of balancing.
Yeah.
Because you want to make it so that it's like still a cost, but also a cost that people are willing to take. Because if it's too high, then it's like, what the fuck's the point?
Right.
Yeah, that would be really fun. That'd be really, really interesting. You also don't have a wizard that's like super specifically psionic, I don't think. But that's a wizard subclass. That's less of a school of magic. I mean, psionics sometimes gets referred to as not a school of magic, but like a source of magic. But yeah, I mean, depending on your what's it called, like world building, inventing a school of magic could be a really cool challenge.
Yeah,
it gets really, really interesting to think about how it works, how those schools interact with the other schools of magic and stuff like that. But let's get into these subclasses.
Let's do it. Let's freaking do it.
Let's freaking do it. Hey gang, we wanted to talk to you about something pretty important real quick. See, we have some really cool ideas for the future, but we need your help. You can do that by supporting us through our Patreon. At the lowest tier, you get early access to podcast episodes, access to episodes of Action Surge, our post-session table talk show, and entry into a private channel on our Discord server. At the next tier, you can get access to Bonus Action, our bonus content podcast where we talk about a huge variety of D&D and TTRPG related things, like Multi-Class Mystery Mashup, where we get 2 random classes and have to build a character, or Monster Matchmaker, where we go over our favorite monsters at each CR level, or recaps of our home campaign, plus so much more. Joining the Patreon helps us continue to grow and put out content that gets better and better as we learn, improve, and try new things. So, check out the link in the description to join the gang today. First off, we have the Blade Singing Wizard, the Blade Singer. This guy, oh my gosh. This is like, to me, almost the reverse of the Eldritch Knight. You know what I mean?
Right.
Eldritch Knight is a fighter who dips into magic. And this is a wizard who dips into fighting. And it's so cool. I'm a big fan of it. I do think that there's like 1 or 2 abilities where it's just like, I would just have to see it in action. I just don't know exactly how it would be. I've never played a Blade Singer before. But reading some of these abilities are so cool. I think wizards are a class that, yes, you can use them for multi-classing and do a multi-class wizard. But they also, like, there's almost nothing. There's, like, no downsides of going full wizard also. They're obviously a spellcaster, first and foremost. The amount of spells that you can have access to at the high levels and stuff, and the things that you're able to do, especially as your arcane recovery increases and you become, wizards just benefit from playing the long game. And so,
plus you get all the a bunch of spells, and you get a bunch of ability score increases.
Oh yeah,
or am I thinking
or feats and stuff like that?
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
Even because depending on how early on you can get a 20 in intelligence. And maybe like, pretty high in another dexterity or something like that. That's what I would do with this build especially.
Yeah.
And constitution.
Absolutely.
But even like, oh man, it's just so good. And then there's like, the feats you could pick up with this particular one, because you could go Warcaster, but then you could also do something along the lines of like some kind of martial feat,
Right.
Anyway, let's get into it.
Absolutely.
This one's so fun.
Let's do it.
So at second level, you're going to get training in war and song. This gives you proficiency in light armor and one type of one-handed melee weapon. So longsword, rapier, those are going to be your big picks. Get that D8 of damage, which is another one of those things where it's like, I'm probably going to be going dex with this build. And in addition to that, I just hate that it's like I always feel like I have to use a rapier. I feel like I'm using a rapier all the time because it has so many of the important things that you like finesse, light weapon, one-handed. It has 1d8 of damage, which is more than everything else that's one-handed. It's just, ugh. Anyway, you also get proficiency in the performance skill. Very cool. That makes sense, I suppose. You're really good with a sword. And blade singing, which is an interesting thing.
Yeah.
It goes into an elven tradition is like some of the lore behind this. You can find this in Tasha's Cauldron of Everything. But yeah. Now, Here's the bread and butter of this class.
Yeah.
Blade Song. This ability is so strong and in ways levels up with you, depending on, if your intelligence modifier goes up. But anyway.
Right.
The caveat for Blade Song is that you cannot be wearing medium or heavy armor or be using a shield. The minute you are, or the second you are, you cannot activate Blade Song. And if you have Blade Song active, it immediately ends. The second you put a shield on, ends. So some big caveats there. It also would end early if you got incapacitated, or if you were using a longsword and you decided to make a two-handed weapon attack, it would also instantly end after that attack. Otherwise,
interesting.
It lasts a full minute.
Hell yeah.
And you can end it early using no action and just if you wanted to, but it's not like concentration or anything. Now, while it's active, here's why it's so fucking OP. First of all, your AC gets a bonus equal to your intelligence modifier. So, bonkers.
Yeah.
Right? Higher levels, you're going to be rocking probably a +1 armor. Studded leather. Yeah. Let's say that's 13 plus your dex. And then you just get to add probably 5 if your intelligence modifier gets up there.
Right.
Throw a shield on top of that. It's wild, dude. Yeah,
it's wild. You can hit 30. You can hit 30 or almost 30 with that.
Probably. 28. And then that doesn't also include other spells that blur or mirror image or other defensive spells like that. It's insane. So yeah, that's just one thing. Then your speed goes up by 10 feet. Always good. You get advantage on acrobatic checks. So getting out of grapples at least. And you get a bonus to your concentration saves equal to your intelligence modifier.
Oh boy, yeah, you're definitely taking Warcaster with that, and you're never ever failing a concentration check.
Pretty much. So that's bananas. So that's Blade Song. Yeah. You get to do this a number of times equal to your proficiency bonus. So 2 of them at least, all the way up to 6, and they recharge on a long rest.
Okay.
That's dope as hell.
That's awesome. Yeah.
That ability is so cool.
Hell yeah.
So, yeah, right off the bat, you can see that we're beginning to, get the abilities to make us stronger in combat. In, frontline combat.
Right.
You're a battle wizard.
That's awesome. I love Battle Wizard. That's such a fun class.
It's so cool. And then at 6th level, which this happens a lot when you have classes that not only get a 6th level subclass ability, but also are first and foremost a spellcaster, but are getting some martial abilities. All of the valor or swords bards get this kind of same thing. At 6th level, you get your extra attack compared to the 5th level fighters and paladins and everything else.
It's still, nothing.
It's better than nothing. No, it's definitely good. It's one more level you gotta just hold out for, but because even then at 5th level, it's not like wizards get nothing. Wizards get 3rd level spells. So
right, exactly.
You'll be fine holding off.
You'll be fine holding off for 1 level. It'll be okay.
And then 6th level, you're gonna get that extra attack. You can attack twice now, and you also can forego one of your attacks and cast a cantrip instead.
Crazy.
Yeah, the way it's worded might not be reflected in the outline, but like it's written in a way where it's not like you can take your 2 attacks and cast 2 cantrips. You know what I mean? But
yeah.
Still.
No, you have to do
Just
one
like the Eldritch
attack.
Knight.
You have to do you have to take the attack action and do like a weapon attack and then cast a cantrip.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. This is exactly like the Eldritch Knight.
Yeah, I love that though.
Fighter
I
also
love
gets this ability. I want to say that the Eldritch Knights is like way higher level to be able to cast a cantrip. No, it's 7th level. Very cool. So you do get it a little bit earlier. But anyway, that is 6th level. 10th level, we get Song of Defense. This is a pretty fucking cool ability. I actually really like this. Song of Defense. When you take damage, you can use a reaction to reduce that damage by a certain amount. The amount of damage that you can reduce it by is 5 times whatever spell slot level you're willing to burn. So first level spell is just 5. Second level spell would be 10, and so on and so forth.
Okay, crazy. That's a lot of damage you could reduce. I mean,
It's a lot.
Slot,
it is a lot of damage. Yeah, it is rough because it truly is like a first level cure wounds is 1d8 plus like wisdom or whatever the modifier is.
Right.
And so a first level spell does have the potential to do more healing than this does. Or like, but obviously this is in a proactive way. But it is nice because it is in a proactive way. So like if you're concentrating on a really important spell, that can be really helpful to just reduce the damage that you take so that your concentration check DC is lower. So there's like there are like huge benefits to this. I love this ability because there's going to be times where it's like, dude, just hold on to your action. It doesn't make sense to reduce this damage. You know what I mean? But then there's going to be times where it's like clutch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
I like that a lot.
Yeah, especially because your concentration checks are so high, like even there's like a threshold like of, getting it down to, bringing your concentration down or concentration check down to a more passable level, because obviously you're at 10th level here. If you're doing it like I would do it, you got your intelligence modifier at a +5 already, and then with Warcaster you've got advantage plus whatever your constitution score is. Let's call it a 2.
Yeah, plus if you're in Blade Song, plus your intelligence.
right, exactly. So
crazy.
there's a point where like you're gonna be like, okay, well, I'm just gonna pass this if I can get it down to a certain threshold,
Yeah.
So taking a huge hit that would make your concentration check a freaking 19 or a 20.
Yeah, or just prevent yourself from dying.
Yeah.
When you're
absolutely.
like, oh, I have 20 hit points left. They just did 30 damage. You don't need to do, okay, now let me burn a 6th level spell slot so I take 0 like just burn to a 2nd level spell, reduce 10 damage, or, you'd probably have to do 15. But
a 3rd level
whatever.
spell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I like this. I like
it a lot.
14th level, the Blade Singer gets Song of Victory. Now, you can add your intelligence modifier to the damage of all your melee weapon attacks while your Blade Song is active.
Out.
So that's just like
that's crazy.
an extra potential of 10 points of damage per attack action if you're, using both attacks with that. Because at 14th level, I don't know. There's a strong part of me that thinks, depending on the AC levels and which cantrips you're using, I still think I'm most often gonna be replacing one of those attacks with a cantrip.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it also depends on the actual cantrip and stuff like that too. Because you know what I want to do, bro. You see the writing on the wall. Wizards don't get this cantrip, but in 2014 rules, it's all too easy for a wizard to get access to Eldritch Blast.
Oh, yeah.
And that would mean that I'm making one attack with my sword, which gets eventually, the intelligence modifier, all this extra stuff. So it'd be like a plus, because it says, it's only to the damage. That is important.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Still.
But then... yeah, doing so much damage, and then being able to be like, and then for my second attack, Eldritch Blast. I get to target 3 creatures and do 1d10 amount of damage to each of them. Like, that's insane. Or, I mean, you could also just do any. Firebolt's going to be 3d10 too. Mm-hmm. But, man, I just, oh my
absolutely.
God. So cool.
Yeah, that's a good one.
A really fun class.
I was also looking at this. A good combo also on the extra attack thing would be doing a True Strike. Having that.
Oh, yeah.
You can give yourself advantage on attacks.
Yeah, True Strike is huge. Any of those kind of cantrip attack ones like Green Flame Blade or Booming Blade are absolutely fucking massive. Yeah. And then also, I know that I'm almost positive. I would have to double check, but I think they changed True Strike to be a bonus action, maybe in or changed it slightly. I don't know. I don't know. Just discount me for that. I'm not sure. I'm talking out of my neck. But yeah, I do love the Blade Singer a lot. You know what is interesting about the Blade Singer is that there's aspects of it that if you're going to multi-class, you have to be so specific about how you multi-class. Otherwise, the Blade Song becomes worthless. You can't, like, because of the caveats about, like, if you use a shield, you cannot do this.
Oh, I'd mix this with Sorcerer all day.
Oh, yeah. That's what I mean. You have to, you could mix it with a rogue. You could mix it with, like, some deck spaces, some fun dex things.
Yeah.
But, yeah, truly just, like, the second. And here's another thing that I was thinking about as I was reading this. It says that you can't, like, it would end if you use 2 hands to make an attack with a weapon. What that says to me is a 2-handed attack. Right? Like a longsword, like a versatile weapon, or like a great axe. There's nothing there that I think dismisses you from being able to dual wield. Like if you had 2 daggers or 2 weapon fighting or something like that. Think about it.
I do. I'm thinking about it, and I feel like the reason why it's saying what it's saying is because they want you to keep your spell book in your other hand.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because that's why you don't have your. That's why it won't let you use a shield either. I mean, it's not really explicitly stated like that.
Yeah.
But
yeah. I don't know. That's the thing is, like, I'm not sure. I read this saying that you could, in theory, switch it up a little bit, but who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows? Not that it would do a ton else. It would truly just give you a bonus action attack. That's like, okay. Yeah.
Right.
It's not like the end of the world either. But unless you had like some kind of magic item, dual weapons that charge together, or like, because sometimes I've seen dual weapons give a boost to AC sometimes.
Yeah.
Like written in the text of the weapon itself. But anyway, that is the Blade Singer.
All right. That's a fun one. I always love, like I said, I always love the martial spellcaster mashup. That's fun.
Oh yeah,
gives you a lot of versatility in battle. But anyway, moving on to our next one, the Chronergy subclass. This is all time magic, being able to manipulate the flow of time around you. It's really freaking cool. I love this subclass. Daniel played a Chronergy wizard in the Mythos campaign, and it's broken. So starting at 2nd level, you get the Chronal Shift feature. As a reaction, after you or a creature you see within 30 feet makes a d20 roll, you can force that creature to re-roll, or you can re-roll it yourself. You can do it after you know if it's a success or a failure, which is pretty big, and the target must use the 2nd roll. And you get this 2 times per long rest. That's it. No more, no less. That's what you get. But still, that's huge. 2 times per long rest.
It's
you can just
really cool.
You know what? I actually don't like that roll. I'm gonna go ahead and let's redo that.
It's really good. Being able, I think this is one of the only times you ever see it specify you can do this after you know it's a success or a failure.
Right.
It's one of the only times you ever see that.
Yeah, and that is really just seeing an outcome and going, nope, I'm gonna turn the time back.
Yeah.
I'm rewinding this and doing it again.
Yeah. So cool.
I really like that. The other thing you get at second level is temporal awareness. And this allows you to add your intelligence modifier to your dexterity or initiative. That would be insane if you added. Anyway, yeah, no. Initiative rolls, you add your intelligence modifier to. You're going first all the time.
Yeah, I mean, strong chance of it. It just, it makes a ton of sense. You just have a tapped in little preview of what's to come.
Yeah. Then moving on to 6th level, you get momentary stasis, which is an action, and you can force a large or smaller creature you see within 60 feet to make a Constitution saving throw against your spell save. If they fail, they're encased in a magic field, which means that they're incapacitated, have a speed of 0, and you can do this up to your intelligence modifier times per long rest.
Dang, dude.
That's a lot. That's a lot of times.
Yeah, and it says that it lasts until the end of your next turn or until that creature takes damage, which is just bonkers, dude.
Yeah.
It's really good.
Incapacitating stuff.
Yeah.
Is so powerful.
Massive. Being incapacitated is truly terrible. We talk about it all the time in the sense of like how many abilities. The Blade Song was an example. How many abilities get shortchanged the second that you are incapacitated?
Right. So many effects and so much stuff can be done by knocking something out for just a turn.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah.
So helpful. So good.
So that's our momentary stasis. At 10th level, you get Arcane Abeyance, which is if you cast a spell that is 4th level or lower, you can turn it into a gray bead and freeze the spell for 1 hour. The bead has an AC of 15, it has 1 hit point, and it's immune to poison and psychic damage. If the bead is destroyed or an hour goes by, it vanishes and the spell itself is lost. But until then, the creature holding the bead, not necessarily you, can spend an action to release the spell, and then the bead disappears. Whatever spell is in there uses your attack bonuses and your save DC. The range and everything else is from basically when they cast it, it's 30 feet from the person holding the bead as opposed to 30 feet from you. And then you can do one, you can make one bead every short or long rest. So you got to use it within an hour.
Mm-hmm.
So that's, something to do. You can't just have it around in your pocket all day.
Yeah.
But if you know that you're coming up on something you want to, hey, let's do a short rest and then have a fireball. You know?
Yeah. I love this.
I do too.
I love this.
I love it so much.
I think if you changed one thing about it, I would love it even more. But I think it would be a little OP. And that is when the bead gets destroyed, the spell is vanished and lost. What if when it gets destroyed, the spell just goes off?
Right.
That's what I want. Because I'm just thinking of all the stupid things you could do. You just kind of like have this bead chilling somewhere. You know that the horse-drawn carriage is going to run over it with its wheel. And boom, fireball. Like just so many funny, stupid things that you could do.
Absolutely.
Because of course you could cast like, the good spells and the really useful ones. Hold a counter spell in there, something crazy. But man, you throw a vicious mockery in there. That's kind of funny.
It's just like a yak back.
Yeah, or like illusion spells and stuff. Like that's really interesting. That's actually a really good use of this too. Is like to put like a use of disguise self in one, because then you put it into the little bead. The guy's holding onto it. Guy A is holding onto this bead. Then you can cast using a different spell slot. Cast disguise self on guy A. He has that. You know what I mean? And then whenever he needs to, he can bump the bead and either change or extend it, or you know what I mean? Like, I fucking love this ability.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Big fan. Spell storage is always fucking dope.
Yeah. I mean, Standard Reserve is a must in higher level.
Ring of spell storing. There's a ton.
All right, and our final feature here for the Chronergy Wizard is the Convergent Future. Whenever you or a creature that you can see within 60 feet makes a d20 roll, you can use your reaction. You can just ignore that die roll and decide if the number rolled is the minimum to succeed. What? Hold on a second.
Yeah, it depends on if you're using it on a friend or a foe.
Okay, so you can use your reaction, and then so like you just say, okay, forget whatever the dice say, that passes or that fails.
Essentially, yeah. It either succeeds by meeting exactly the DC because it's the minimum, or it fails because it's one below
by one less.
One below the DC.
Okay. And then once you use this feature, you gain a level of exhaustion, and you can only get this feature back once you get rid of your exhaustion by taking a long rest or just figure another way of getting the exhaustion.
Yeah, I don't think you can. I don't think it prevents you from using the ability again if you have the point of exhaustion. I think it's just saying that you can't use like greater restoration.
Gotcha.
Yeah, these points of exhaustion specifically.
I gotcha.
Can only be
so you
removed by
can
long
keep
rest.
doing this until basically you're
die.
fully exhausted and die, or one step above dying. Interesting.
Yeah, because it is a very powerful ability.
Yeah.
It is portent.
But
you are getting a portent ability.
Yeah.
Essentially, right? Without like the specific numbers, but you're just straight up choosing success or fail.
Right.
Like, it's crazy how powerful this ability is. This is exactly what we were talking about in the schools of magic. Like, this is the cost of doing great magics.
Right.
You get a point of exhaustion instantly that can only be removed by a long rest. So if you do this 2 times in a combat, or 2 times, in a long rest or whatever, then now you have to worry about the next long rest. Because you can only remove 1 point of exhaustion from a long rest anyway.
Right.
So you're just racking up like potentially days of recovery. It's very, very cool.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very, very powerful school of magic here, or subclass.
I agree. And it makes sense. It should be. It's time. It's a fucking time magic. Come on.
Yeah.
It's the strongest magic.
Super
there is.
cool. Strongest magic.
Alongside Chronergy, they came out with Graviturgy, time and space. And by space, we're really going to focus on gravity. We're really going to focus on gravity here for the most part. It's very, very cool. The flavor here is insanely awesome. It really just comes down to like, I think there might be like 1 or 2 abilities where I was kind of like, I love it, wish it was slightly different. But for the most part, it's dope as hell. So, Graviturgy. And we haven't even gone over, there are like we said in the beginning with the schools of magic, there are like specific Chronergy spells and gravity spells and stuff like that, like throughout the spell books and stuff like that. So, give it a check out. On Wikidot, you could see all the different spells that are available. And they'll put like little, what's it called? Like next to the school of magic. So like, for example, a 1st level spell, Magnify Gravity. It's a transmutation spell, but then right next to transmutation, it has a little DG. Because technically these fall under Dunamancy, which is a Matt Mercer exclusive school of magic that includes all this space and time shit, is Dunamancy. And then there's like sub schools, Graviturgy, Chronomancy, Chronergy. But anyway, that's enough background lore on these 2 classes, because these come to us from the Explorer's Guide to Wildemount, actually.
Yeah.
So these are like Critical Role shit, but they are very fucking cool, which is why they get chosen a lot. Anyway, 2nd level for Graviturgy, we're going to get Adjust Density. So as an action, you can alter the weight of one object or creature that is large or smaller that you can see within 30 feet. That target's weight is either halved or doubled for up to a minute or until concentration ends. So right off the bat, I'm like, oh, that's such a cool ability. I hate that it's concentration, but it kind of makes sense. You're actively changing the gravity of this fucking creature. Like, that does make sense that it would require your concentration, but still. Now, while a target's weight is halved, the creature's speed increases 10 feet. They can jump twice as far, and they have disadvantage on strength checks or saves. So you just have your moon gravity. It's fucking crazy. And then while your while your gravity or weight is doubled, your speed is reduced 10 feet, but you have advantage on strength checks or saves.
Okay.
So
either heavier or lighter. That makes sense.
Yeah, exactly. It is very fucking cool. Now, here is something about it that I want to just, pause it in case you missed it. No saving throws.
Nope.
This just happens.
Yeah.
You can just do this. How many times can you do it? Like a day or something? As a million? As many times as you want. So that's crazy. And I think the reason they do that and feel confident about that decision in terms of not having a saving throw, and also you can do it as many times as you want, is it is concentration. You're only targeting one creature. And there are pros and cons to each of the traits, depending on if you have or double it, right? You're either making the creature faster or slower and giving them disadvantage or advantage on strength checks and saves. So it's balanced. At 10th level, it will increase and get a little bit stronger. And instead of just larger, smaller, you can hit huge or smaller targets. So that's fun. And that's their second level ability, adjusting density. So right off the bat, we're truly changing gravity here.
Hell yeah.
Was that John Mayer's song? Gravity. Okay, 6th level. Gravity well. Whenever you cast a spell on a creature, you can just move that target 5 feet to an unoccupied space. Here are the 3 conditions for if you can do that. 1, the target is willing to move. So if you cast a spell on a friend and they're willing to move, bonita. If the spell hits with an attack roll, hey, you already rolled to hit. So yes, you can move it 5 feet. Or if the target failed the saving throw of the spell that you cast on them. Because, hey, you already failed the saving throw. I'm also going to push you.
Nice. I like that.
Yeah, it's fucking crazy. So I love that ability. That's great. And it's 5 feet is not much, but I mean, we all know how crazy that can be in so many different regards. Whether it's changing, ranges for attacks of opportunity and pushing people away so that you can get away and do different things. Any maps with ledges or bridges or anything like that, it can become incredibly helpful. It also becomes helpful if there's like a cleric with spirit guardians and you can push somebody into it so they do start their turn inside the thing. And you know what I mean? There's a billion ways to use this. Moving a friend out of harm's way. Like, just, it's so cool. And that's 6th level. At 10th level, we get violent attraction. Now, when another creature you see within 60 feet hits some target with a weapon attack, you can use your reaction to sort of like fast forward and speed up that attack, and it does an extra 1d10 weapon damage.
All right.
So that's cool. That's just free extra damage you could do pretty much once a turn if you wanted to, pretty intense. When, alternatively, when a creature within 60 feet of you that you see takes damage from a fall, it's really specific, from a fall,
right?
You can use your reaction to reduce the damage by 2d10. You can use this violent attraction ability in whichever way you want between the two different styles, a number of times equal to your intelligence modifier, regaining on a long rest.
Huh.
Yeah.
I mean, I get that it's a I get why it's a reaction. I don't like that it is a reaction. There's so many, especially as a wizard, there's so many other things to use your reaction for.
Yeah. I agree. I totally agree. I agree about every part of it because 1d10 is not enough for me to use my reaction. I'm going to save it for counterspell. I'm going to save it for shield. I'm going to save it for silvery barbs.
Right.
Or an opportunity attack, 1d10.
Yeah.
What are we talking about? I'm at level 10. Like, my cantrips do more than that. I can have Warcaster. You know, like I just I don't know. And then the other one is like takes damage from a fall. It's so specific. You can just burn a first level feather fall spell and just be done with it and save everybody. And you don't reduce damage. There is no damage. So I don't see it. It's a cool idea.
Yeah.
They're trying some cool things. How else can we play with gravity?
Right.
This one misses the mark a little bit. But anyway, it is what it is. Moving on. 14th level Event Horizon. Coming to theaters this summer. This one, take an action and you begin to emit a field of gravitational energy for 1 minute or until your concentration ends. So once again, concentration ability here that is not a spell, but sort of acts like one. Now, for that 1 minute, whenever a hostile creature starts its turn within 30 feet of you, so a massive radius, it must make a strength save against your spell save DC. That's insane because there's like, of course there's like dragons and stuff where it's like, okay, strength is a really good thing, but there's also so many things out there that strength is not their greatest stat, you know? So it's like, damn, that's wild. So here's what happens on a fail. They take 2d10 force damage and their speed is reduced to 0 until the start of their next turn. Rough, buddy.
Rough.
Very, very rough. And then on a success, they take half damage, and every 1 foot of movement is 2 feet of movement. So sort of like difficult terrain, but they explicitly don't call it difficult terrain. So there's no like,
because there's so much stuff that gets around difficult terrain that So they're very much trying to close a loophole there. And wow, boy howdy, what a move.
It's pretty intense. Talk about field control or crowd control or both or whatever, because holy shit, man, this is nuts. You're just taking.
So is it only on the start of its turn? So like if it was to start its turn outside the 30 feet and then go into that 30 feet range, it's fine for at least the one bit of their turn?
The way that it's worded, yes. It only happens at the start of their turn. So if they start their turn 1 foot outside of it and then enter it, nothing happens, which is actually kind of stupid. But I guess because of the speed reducing to 0, maybe that makes sense. I don't know. That would be an interesting thing to figure out. But now this Event Horizon ability, you can use it once per long rest, or you can burn a 3rd level spell slot or higher.
Crazy.
To do it again.
Absolutely crazy.
Yeah, it's pretty dope. It's very, very powerful. The fact that even without like failing, your movement is fucked.
Yeah.
Your movement is fucked inside of that thing. So that is pretty freaking powerful.
Yeah, that's that I think makes up for the 10th level little misstep.
Yeah.
In my mind. Yeah. This is a very strong ability.
It's very, very powerful.
It's still it's concentration, so that's not great, but for as strong as it is, absolutely you make this concentration.
Yeah, absolutely. And because it lasts a whole minute.
Yeah.
Oof. Wow. Okay. Incredible. That is the Graviturgy Wizard.
All right. So our next one is a bit wordy. It's the Order of the Scribes. It really does have a lot of text involved with it, like spell text and stuff involved with it. But basically, this is like you're a wizard who spends a lot of time with books, pretty much. You starting at 2nd level, you get a wizardly quill, which you can create as a bonus action. It's just magical quill. It doesn't require any ink. You can choose what color it writes in.
I love
which
that.
Is cool.
Dude, yeah. I want a quill that's like, those those really dumb pens that have like the little clicker 5 different colors. I want my quill to look at like that. Even though it magically doesn't need those things, I want it.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I'm here for that. Mechanically, it reduces the time that it takes to copy a spell by 2 minutes per spell level, rather than whatever the normal way is. Yeah.
Bro, what?
Yeah. It's 2 minutes per level.
a huge reduction.
Yeah.
It's like
yeah.
It's like an hour per spell level.
Right.
Or something normally. Whoa, that's crazy.
And then the other interesting thing that happens, or that you can do with this quill when you first get it, you can erase anything you write with the quill if you wave the feather end over the text as a bonus action.
That's dope.
It's a cool little thing.
Yeah, I could see people getting squirrely with that.
Yeah. The quill does disappear if you use a bonus action to create another one, or you die.
Oof.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that tracks.
Yeah.
The other thing that you get at second level is your awakened spellbook. This is a
very cool.
Very, very cool thing. Basically, your spellbook has its own mind and can think, and it doesn't specifically say that it can speak, but it can. Like, it is intelligent. You can obviously use this as your spellcasting focus for your wizard spells. When you cast a wizard spell from this book, you can replace the damage type with the damage type from another spell. So the one caveat is the spell that you take the damage from must be the same level of spell that you're casting.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, of like the spell slot that you're casting.
Right. And would that include like upcasting?
Yeah, so if you're upcasting like I'm trying to think what is it?
Burning Hands.
Burning Hands or something is a first level spell. And then you could use Chromatic Orb is also first level. So you could do Chromatic Orb if you're casting it at first level and change it to whatever damage type you want to do it at. But if you upcast Burning Hands to third level, you wouldn't be able to do that.
Yeah, you'd have to
because you have to use a third. You'd have to pick a third level spell that has a different damage type.
Right. Okay. Cool.
Yep.
That's really cool though.
Yeah. I really like that. Versatility is always fun. The book can be replaced on a short rest if you've got an empty book and your arcane quill. Basically, the lore way that they explain it is you basically put in some glyphs into the book and it actually summons the mind of your spell book into your new book, and then the spell book itself fills itself out and replaces all of your notes.
Incredible.
And so the old book, if it still exists, is wiped clean, basically because it gets all the information sucked out of it. If it doesn't exist, obviously nothing really happens to the old book because it's gone. But yeah, so very cool. This Awakened Spellbook basically is at this stage just a thing to help you keep your notes together, and it is able to like fill in information for you, this, that, and the third. But when you get to 6th level, it gets even cooler.
Hell yeah.
At 6th level, you can actually manifest the spirit of your book into the world. Basically, you summon it as a tiny spectral object in an unoccupied space within 60 feet. It itself does not have any movement or anything like that. It's just once you summon it, that's where it's at. But while it's there, it is intangible. It doesn't occupy the space that it actually doesn't like physically occupy the space that it's in. And it sheds dim light for 10 feet. But it can hear and see. It's got dark vision up to 60 feet, and it can share information that it knows telepathically with you. Whoa. There's no action economy required on that. You just can know what it knows and sees, basically.
Huh.
Yeah, which is really cool. The other really cool thing is you can cast your wizard spells from its space using its senses up to your proficiency bonus times per day. And then you get all your uses of that back on a long rest. So really cool. It's kind of like having a familiar, only it can't move. But you can just, if you are, say, engaged in something is on you and you want to do a range spell or something that does a decent, more damage as a range spell, you can cast it from the mind and not have disadvantage.
Right.
Because you're using its senses. Not your own.
Yeah. That's cool.
Super cool. Yeah. the spectral mind stops manifesting itself if it ever gets more than 300 feet away from you, if dispel magic gets cast on it, if the book itself gets destroyed, you die or you can dismiss it. If it does disappear, you can conjure it once per long rest for free, and then you can just spend a spell slot to get it back on after if it disappears for whatever reason. Mm-hmm. So it doesn't specify, it just says a spell slot of any level. Doesn't matter, and you can get it back. So very, very cool. Very, very, I like this a lot. I love the thought of the book kind of gaining its own mind and intelligence outside of the book. Super, super cool.
Yeah.
Now, this is where, once we get onto the 10th level, this is where it gets kind of broken a little bit. Mm-hmm. So whenever you do a long rest, at the end of the long rest, you can create a magical scroll by touching your special wizard quill to a blank piece of paper or parchment. The awakened spellbook basically fills in what the spell scroll should read. Okay. It must be a first or second level spell and it requires a casting time of 1 action. Okay. But once it's in the scroll, it counts as 1 higher level than what you put it in at.
That's cool.
And then basically you can cast a spell from the scroll by reading it as an action. Only you can use this scroll, and it vanishes after you use it or you take a long rest. And also you gain, you become adept at creating scrolls, as in the Dungeon Masters guys, like lasting spell scrolls. And the gold and the time that it takes to do that are halved when you're using your quill.
Dang.
Yeah.
That's pretty dope. So
you become the master of spell scrolls and all that. And then it gets more broken at 14. This is what I imagine a truly high tier wizard spell, again getting into that forbidden jutsu range of this, you can do this, but it's gonna hurt to do it, but it's so broken that it makes sense that it hurts as much as it does. So when at 14th level you become one with the word. Basically you and your awakened spellbook have an entwined soul at this point. While your spellbook is on your person, you gain advantage on all Arcana checks just out the gate. That's always. If you take damage while your spectral mind is manifested, you can prevent all of that damage by dismissing the mind. Doesn't matter. It said there's no cap or whatever. It says all of the damage goes away. Mm-hmm. After you do that, you roll 3d6. Your spellbook loses spells of your choice whose levels equal that number or higher.
Like 2 5-level spells is a 10.
Right.
Got it.
Yeah. So, or you could do a 2, a 3, and a 5.
Right.
So any combination thereof adding up to that number or higher, you can do that. If there aren't enough spells in your spell book, like if you've used this a bunch of times, if there aren't enough spells in your spell book to cover that cost, you drop to 0 HP, immediately knocked out.
Whoa.
And you lose the spells that you choose. You lose those spells for 1d6 long rests. Even if you find them on a scroll or in another spell book, you still cannot cast those spells.
Dang.
After those long rests, they come back. After that number of long rests, they reappear in the spell book. Now, you can only do this reaction once per long rest, but just the fact of, hey, no, I'm not taking that damage. Screw you and your little mini nuke spell. I'm not taking it. It's wild to me that there is no reduce the damage by X amount.
Yeah, no. I mean, it's pretty pricey.
Gone. It's very expensive.
Because when it says lose the spells. Wow, man.
So there's nothing preventing you from once you lose those spells from your spell
so you just
book,
can't cast. It's not even just losing spell slots. It's losing spells.
No, you're losing the spells.
Yeah,
themselves.
if you pick Fireball, you can no longer cast Fireball.
Right.
Dang,
exactly.
dude. That is wild.
But that's,
and like the fact that you're potentially losing them for not just the rest of that fight, but like days.
Right.
Nuts, dude.
Yeah. I kind of really like it though. I mean, there's nothing saying that
it's
you
really
can't
nice.
Just change your list of prepared spells or whatever.
Yeah, because it is
include those spells anymore.
It's really true because it is your spell book.
Right.
So you can pick spells that you don't even have prepared currently. Or spells that you know what I mean, like spells that you've had in that book forever and been like, I'd never use this spell.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, no, that's dope as hell. Very cool.
Yeah, I really like that. I really like that ability. This whole class is very much a book nerdy class, but I kind of love it. I love the Awakened Spellbook. I don't, it doesn't ever say that it talks, but it does say that it's sentient, and I would definitely, as a DM, make it talk.
Same,
because it's way more. It's way more. Why have a sentient spellbook if it's not gonna talk?
It must speak. Let the book speak.
Let it speak. Let it bring its words into the world.
Let it speak. Wow.
But
okay.
yeah,
very cool.
Really, really cool.
Well, this one kind of goes in a different direction slightly in terms of instead of delving deeper into the books, we're going to delve deeper into war magic with the subclass called War Magic. This one comes from Xanathars. This is one that is so fucking set up for multi-classing because there are so many good things that you can just dip into for this shit. Not to mention there are amazing things to stay long for. Because the 10th level ability is bonkers, and it just gets stronger. This is your like battle wizard on steroids in heavy plate mail kind of vibes is what I pick up from this. Although
like the Blade Singer was very
proficiency in armor, but it is crazy.
Yeah. But you can definitely get it from somewhere else. But this is opposed to the Blade Singer, which is a very light armor, light weapon type of deal. This is there's no restrictions on you can't wear heavy armor while you're doing this. You can't use a shield while you're doing this.
It just comes down to you would have to multi-class into something that gives you, because the only way to get heavy armor, I mean, from a wizard. The amount of feats you would have to take without multi-classing to get heavy armor proficiency is obscene. It's actually like you'd have to... It's just not ideal. But you could make it so that your character's first class is fighter or paladin or something along those lines. And then do it that way. But it's not that it's bad on its own. It's just that's how you're going to get those heavy armor proficiencies and stuff. But anyway, let's get into it. So second level... We're going to get Arcane Deflection first off. When you're hit by an attack or fail a save, you can use your reaction to add 2 to the AC or 4 to the saving throw. If you do that, you cannot cast spells other than cantrips until the end of your next turn. So, I guess, but you're just taking a reaction to make yourself a little bit more formidable. A little more defensive, and then the cost of that, because you can do this over and over again, the cost of that is just you can only cast cantrips until the end of your next turn. Right. So that's okay. I mean,
do bonus action, some kind of bonus action cantrip, and then you have your attack. That's what the Warcaster is like you still got your, if you're doing this the way that it's intended to be done, you're gonna be able to do something with your action that's not casting a spell anyway.
Yeah, I actually don't know if I agree unless you're doing multi-class with like a fighter or paladin, because this subclass gives you no proficiencies in any armors or weapons. So you only rock whatever a wizard can normally rock.
I gotcha. All right, fair enough.
So it is like
I'm just kind of
pricey.
Going from the you have
to use your action on a cantrip or something for the most part. Yeah.
A mindset of multi-classing on this one just because of that. But
it really is like being, if you're using this for multi-classing, it's really picky choosy in terms of like what you would like. It's going to be more helpful because you have obvious action possibilities.
Right.
But it's interesting. So that's one of the second level abilities. Then you also get tactical wit. So now you can just, you're a tactician. So now you get a bonus to your initiative rolls equal to your intelligence modifier. We've seen that with the Chronergy wizard, right? So that makes a ton of sense. Now you're getting some other powerful stuff. 6th level, you're going to get power surge. You can store magical energy to empower damaging spells. Crazy. The number of surges is equal to your intelligence modifier. You reset to 1 on a long rest. And when you successfully end a spell with Dispel Magic or Counterspell, you gain a power surge. You're stealing magic, essentially. If you end a short rest with no power surges, you gain 1. And once per turn, when you have all this stored, magical energy, when you deal damage to a creature or an object with a wizard spell, you can spend 1 power surge to deal extra force damage to that target. The extra damage equals half of your wizard level.
Sounds really cool. Very little damage.
It is very little damage because it's going to be maximum 10 points of damage. I mean, it's nice because it just kind of happens.
Yeah.
There's no economy in any of this.
That's true.
Right? It's just extra added on. You're already going to be casting Counterspell and Dispel Magic. Now when you do, you just build up a power surge. And then you're already going to be dealing damage to creatures or objects with wizard spells. They just do a little bit of extra damage. So that's okay. Plus you could spend multiple power surges, depending on how high can you get. I don't know. Only one way to find out. You could cheese it too and just have one friend in the group just keep casting first level spells and you just keep counterspelling them. And then just build up your surge and then you have 7 surges and you're like, "Hey bro, here we fucking go." Except it does say maximum number of surges.
It's once per turn. Yeah.
Bummer.
Yeah. But also that's what I'm saying. It does.
Well, it says once per turn
really...
when you deal damage, you can spend 1 power surge to deal extra force damage to that thing. Oh yeah, I guess that is only 1. That's stupid.
Yep.
I feel like I only know one person who's ever played this subclass, and I feel like they did it all for the 10th level ability and no other reason. Maybe the bonus to initiative.
Right.
Because they also have a magic item that gives them advantage on initiative, so that's why Dirta always gets high 20s and goes first. So at 10th level, you're going to get single-handedly the best ability that you get for the entire thing. Yeah. And it's just because, and this is true for any primary spell casting thing, there's a lot of concentration spells in the game. You're going to be using them all the time. You're going to have to, when you're assembling your spell lists, whether it's a spell book or a pact book or bard song list, whatever it is, you got to make sure you have both. You have concentration spells and non-concentration spells because you're going to need something to do while you're concentrating. So, keep that in mind. But this is going to be really helpful because at 10th level, you get durable magic. When you're concentrating on a spell, you get a +2 to AC and all saving throws. Nice. So that's solid as hell. There's a billion ways to start combat with a concentration spell. Summoning something, casting fucking blur, wall of fire. There's just so many concentration spells that it just makes sense to do this right out of the gate. Right. Gosh, just always have some kind of ABC, concentration going on.
Always be concentrating.
Yeah, it's huge. Especially if you're again, multi-classing and getting heavy armor and you already have a good AC, then it just becomes even crazier. I think this subclass changes how useful it is or how good it is straight up with whether or not you multi-class. Yeah. And get access to armor and other stuff.
Yeah.
But, okay. We'll keep going, though. Because that's just level 10. At level 14, you get Deflecting Shroud. So now your Arcane Deflection, so that reaction to give yourself a +2 to AC or a +4 to a saving throw and then not being able to cast spells and all that kind of shit. Now it just becomes infused with deadly magic. So now when you use that deflection ability, you can cause magical energy to arc from you. Up to 3 creatures of your choice within 60 feet of you take force damage equal to half of your wizard level. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do like that it's, I mean, this to me is a little more versatile than the power surge situation, although both of them have their uses. This is nice for just reaching out and poking other spellcasters while you're also doing stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it just takes that second level ability and makes it better, because now you're getting out a little bit of extra damage just by using the ability as it's already, set out. Maybe it would have been nice if they would have upped the bonuses, like a +2 to your AC. Maybe it's a +4. That would be nice, maybe. But also, it kind of makes up for the fact that you're not able to cast any like big spells and you have to only cast cantrips.
Right.
And then, it really just comes down to your reactions and like how you use them in combat and you as a player. Because a +2 to your AC, +4 to a saving throw. Interesting. And this is only for yourself too.
Right.
But so then, there you go. There's the War Magic Wizard.
That's cool.
It's definitely cool. It's they're buffing it up with a ton of defensive options and like playing into the idea of the wizard who are on the front lines in the sense of like very much an important part of the battle, but also really having a big focus on defense. You know what I mean? Like resilience in the sense of a lot of features that make your AC higher, and a lot of features that can dish out extra damage without like a ton of cost, even though it's not a ton of damage, but there's not a ton of cost to it either.
Right.
Like the power surge thing, I agree. It's not much damage. It's nice that it's just like, it just kind of happens, just like extra damage that you just get. It's not like use a bonus action and you can do extra damage. You know what I mean? Or like,
right.
It's not like that. So that's good, I guess. But hinging it all on dispel magic or counterspell feels a little crazy, because it's like, hopefully you're fighting spellcasters, dog.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, I think there's a lot wrong with this class.
You get 3 damage one time.
Yeah, big time. That's what I mean. I genuinely think that there's like a lot missing with this subclass. There's a lot that could be updated to make it a lot better. And then it's just crazy knowing that there are aspects of it that truly, the concentrating on a spell, having the +2 on bonus AC, it like when you're just straight up a wizard, going from 13 to 15 is like, whatever, man. That's fine. Nothing game breaking there. When it's like, now I'm at a 24, that extra +2 is huge. It is huge. Not to mention all the other spells that can make you even harder to hit. So it's like War Magic is really going to depend on multi-classing and stuff like that, which we didn't really see in the other subclasses. We didn't see like this depends on multi-classing.
Right.
Like, of course, there's ways, like, you read the Chronergy or like Blade Singing, and of course you think of potential multi-classes, but I don't think, reading all of these other ones, there wasn't a part of me that was like, man, this would be like, this is but with multi-class, it would be crazy.
A multi-class.
Yeah, the other ones don't need multi-classings. They benefit from them in certain ways because 5e kind of is built that way, that multi-classing is huge. But like War Magic, I feel like needs it. You need it. Which, speaking of, I know eventually we're going to be getting into 2024. We're getting really, really close. This is episode 50. One episode every single week. We're getting really close to our year anniversary. And I know that we're going to be getting into the 2024 Player's Handbook and stuff like that. So if you, the audience, listeners, if you have any questions about the 2024 material, whether it's the Player's Handbook, which is out at the time of this recording, the DMG, which technically isn't out yet, but is coming out very, very soon. And then eventually the fucking Monster Manual doesn't come out until next year, I think. It's crazy. But if you have any questions regarding any of that new stuff.
It's wild to me that
Lay it on us.
They're spread out like that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a money making thing, you know. It just gives them more time to build up hype and stuff. But let's talk about it. So ask us your questions, send us your emails at soyouwannabeadm@gmail.com, or reach out to us on our Discord server. Links are all in the descriptions of the episodes. You can access all of our stuff. And one of these days, whether it's for the old ones, we'll probably do them separately. Maybe we'll do them together eventually at one point. Maybe it's a bonus action. Maybe it's a normal pod episode. Who knows? But we're eventually going to rank some of these subclasses, you know, talking about which ones depend on, you know, multi-classes, which ones can stand on their own, which ones bring power to the class, which ones sort of detract away from it a little bit, you know, comparing all the ins and outs of all of these subclasses that we've gone over in discussing our rubric for doing so and stuff like that. So I personally, I can't speak to Taylor's experience. I've had a lot of practice with this. You know, I've ranked milks in the past. Whole milk is my favorite. Skim milk, close second.
Oh my God. All right, that's all we can get into this time. You can find us on TikTok and Instagram at So You Want to Be a DM, or you can ask us a question at soyouwannabeadm@gmail.com. If you like the episode, don't forget to give us 5 stars and review wherever you found us, and check out the Patreon and the Twitch with the link in the description. Join us next time for more Dungeon Master tips and tricks.
Bye.
See you.
And now I have the honor of giving a shout out to the members of our Patreon gang. Lee, we can't wait to roll dice with you. Nub Muffins, may Paylor's light shine upon you. And there's Vanessa D, Talk Screen, and Tappy. If you want a shout out, join the Adult or Ancient Dragon gangs on Patreon. Tune in next time for more tips and tricks from So You Wanna Be a DM.